Last week, Google dropped a bomb on the gaming industry. Project Genie. Genie is pretty advanced for what it is, and that has a lot of people scared that it might replace game engines, developers, and maybe even game companies. And look, I get it. It's easy to see a video where somebody presses WASD in an AI world and watch a bunch of YouTube reactions where people say, "Oh, games are dead. The games industry is cooked." But here's the thing. Genie isn't a game. It looks like one, it moves like one, but under the hood, it is doing something completely different, and that difference matters much more than people realize. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, we ask the question, is the video gaming industry cooked because of Google's Project Genie? So what are we talking about here? What actually is Genie? Well, to understand what Genie is, we first have to understand what it isn't. Genie is not a game engine. A game engine is, at its most basic level, a logic loop. Every actual game engine runs the same logic loop over and over, dozens, if not hundreds of times per second. It reads the player's input, it updates all of the variables of the game, the state of the game, and it does this with a set of rules that are dictated by the developers. It renders the resulting game state, and it repeats. Everything that we think of as gameplay exists because this loop is stable, repeatable, and complies to the set of rules the developers set forward. Those rules are perhaps the most important part because given the inputs and state of the world, those rules dictate what happens next. Hopefully what happens next is you click the alarm bell, because we've been getting comments lately that people aren't seeing all of our videos as we upload them. Probably the best way to fix that is the alarm bell. Also, it helps us out a ton. We appreciate it a great deal. We hope it brings you some stuff you want to see. Thanks a lot. Let's get back to the video. Anyway, the rules. They dictate what happens next, but most importantly, they are not a guess about what happens next. They are more or less reliable pieces of logic which produce a result that is within a set of parameters. If this, then that. If the player presses up, the character walks forward. If the character falls more than 20 feet, the player incurs damage. If the player is playing Code Violet, then the character is wearing a diaper, and so on and so forth. All of this logic creates and maintains position values. They detect collisions, what a collision causes to happen, the physics, and a near endless state of variables that have to be defined in order to produce consistent results, in order for a game to identifiably be that game. Not only the difference between, say, Sonic and Mario, but also, aside from player input, Mario is the same every time, and Sonic is the same every time. So before we even say the word Genie, we need to have an understanding that a game is a deterministic logic loop with enforced rules. So Genie isn't that. It might have some kind of a logic loop going to read inputs, but the world that is being put in front of you, that it is generating, is predictive video. Genie's loop would look something like this. Read player input, predict the next frame based on probability, render that, and repeat. In practice, this is both much simpler and in certain ways much more complex than what a game engine is doing. In terms of logic, it's absolutely paper thin. It is not simulating gravity, velocity, collisions, light, or anything else in the way that you would with a game engine. That is to say, logic. What Genie is doing, let's say when you jump, is not applying gravity by velocity, by height to produce some result. What it is doing is it's remembering all of the many times it has seen someone jump, and it goes, well, jumping's supposed to look like that, right? Yeah, look at that jump. That's a jump. In many ways, its understanding of a game is very much like a lay person's understanding of a game. It has seen what a game does, so it assumes that is what a game does. This means it doesn't know the rules. Therefore, it doesn't run the rules, and therefore, the results are not reliably the same thing. That is to say, again, barring player input, the repeatability that makes Sonic the Hedgehog the same thing every time you plug the cartridge into the Genesis and wonder just how much longer that flimsy Genesis power button has. Shout out to my Sega people. I still have the same Genesis from the 90s. I have a Genesis 2, the second model, and that thing's power button is awful. I have no idea how it still works. It does, though, and that's basically the understanding of a game that Genie is operating on. I don't know how it works. It does, though. The data a game engine is drawing from is stationary. World maps, character models, items, sprites, textures. These are stored and loaded when needed. Genie is a generative video model. It is operating as a neural network with an understanding of lots of content, specifically all of the Let's Plays on YouTube. I don't know that for sure, but I think it's pretty safe to assume, right? So that means within its neural network, it has variables that are essentially memories of a bunch of different, say, grass textures. Keep in mind, it doesn't store grass textures. It doesn't store any image data. It stores variables that are telling it the relationship between different pixels, more or less. Because it's a video model, it's also storing relationships of motion and objects and just anything that it can observe has a repeating pattern. A real game engine remembers what you've done. It remembers where you are in a world that doesn't change. Any recorded data about your playthrough affects the state of various objects, characters, etc. Your save file is essentially a history of what is and isn't done. In Genie, visual context is the only history, and that is not authoritative because it is constantly changing. The last frame is always different than the frame before it, and so on and so forth. If you turn around enough times in Genie, you're gonna see stuff that wasn't there before. So essentially, multiplayer would be very, very difficult to do. Fairness would be impossible, and that's kind of super important when you're making a video game. Debugging, oh my god, that's impossible because what even constitutes a bug in that set of circumstances? You can't trust that what you're looking at in Genie is a game. That's why it goes for 60 seconds and then stops. The longer you go, the less consistent it will be. Now, China released an open source competitor to Genie pretty much immediately, and it goes to 10 minutes, and it's better about some of the problems, but those problems still exist. There's nothing fundamentally different about the outcome. These things are amazing. It's impressive. On some level, it could be useful, although don't ask me the use cases as of right now. But I think the important thing to say here is that this is not a replacement for games. Look at these various videos people created with Google's Genie 3. Yeah, it's cool to watch that pirate walking towards that dock with the ships off in the background. Yeah, that Shiba Inu is collecting coins on the moon. Wow, do I wish that Pokemon games looked like that. But, I mean, look at this guy walking around on the moon. He's not doing anything interesting, and that landscape is so bland. Oh my god, this is Starfield! How did that get in there? This isn't a Genie video. That's just a bland and uninteresting real game. And the real danger of Genie, and perhaps all of AI, makes itself apparent. It is now very easy for everyone to make something that is bland and uninteresting, and it looks good enough that it's worth talking about. These are not masterpiece games, these are things that are good enough to show somebody. I am totally uninterested in walking around a lifeless, non-working Pokemon world, but I am interested in an actual Pokemon game that looks like the Pokemon Genie generation. We are about to be drowning in bland moons, empty forests, caves, procedural spaces. And that isn't to say that a procedural space is necessarily bad. There's a very different philosophy between Starfield and No Man's Sky, for instance. No Man's Sky starts from the idea of exploring procedural worlds. It works with that as a condition for the deliberate creative choices the developers made. On top of that, the team was relatively small and quite focused. Contrast that with the empty, lifeless nothing that is Starfield. The philosophy there is, this is a Bethesda game in space, so there has to be a lot of places. We can't possibly make all the places the way that we made them for Skyrim, for instance, so let's procedurally generate them. It's careless, it's uncreative, and it's the final product. The thing that makes No Man's Sky work is the type of game it is, the type of community they cultivated, and the type of things that happen within these worlds. This is again governed by all of those rules and using the limitations of something in creative ways. I am, of course, not telling you that Starfield is the same thing as a Genie generation, but the reason that Starfield feels soulless is not particularly far from the reason a Genie generation isn't a game. The stuff that's being generated is kind of just there. It exists. It doesn't really have a good reason to exist. There's no motivation, there's no creative choices involving narrative. You could do Starfield with 10 explorable planets that were handcrafted and honestly probably took less time, but just took human time, and it would probably be a much better game. And I'm not even saying that they took a shortcut or that they didn't do work making the game. Like Starfield, as mediocre as it is, accomplishes some things. I don't want to get too far into glazing Starfield or really travel any distance in that direction at all, but it still needs to be said, the game took a lot of effort and it kind of sucks. What Genie and AI represent is the ability to put a much smaller amount of effort into something that kind of sucks. Hell, I mean, try vibe coding a game. You will learn really fast that it actually, for a single person, takes an incredible amount of effort to make something that it kind of sucks. I tried it. Believe me, the stuff that comes out of it sucks. It's interesting that it's possible, but I'm never going to play one of those games like, oh man, what a game. This was certainly better than Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog. What needs to be understood is that the bar for mediocrity is about to be lowered incredibly significantly. And when a large company puts out a mediocre game that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make, it will now look completely insane because somebody could have made a shitty, janky AI thing that, I mean, for all intents and purposes, has as much soul. None. 0 souls. You need to go out and get more souls. Leave the campfire. Does this demolish the games industry? Well, it may be a big problem for big companies that spend big budgets making big, mediocre games, but all it really exposes is how soulless the quadruple A market is. I'm sorry, but if you ask me, making the bar to mediocrity easier to clear makes something good that much more rare and valuable. That is to say, look at gameranx. The reason a gameranx video is a gameranx video isn't because we talk about 10 blank. What makes a gameranx video is when I say, hi folks, it's Falcon, or Jake promises you a free pizza. You can't replace the personality. And that's not me saying like, oh, we're the best because we're the best. I'm saying people come here because they're interested in what I have to say, Jake has to say, Kevin and Eric have to say when we're doing the Falcon show for the 1% Club. By the way, click join. The truly unhinged stuff goes there. And if you didn't have that embodied experience, that life, our taste, our sensibilities, and the opinions that follow all of that stuff, you don't have gameranx. You might have top 10 list videos, but that's not why we've been around so long. We aren't correct on absolutely everything. Sometimes I say the wrong thing. Like I meant to say GameStop the other day, and I said GameSpot twice. In one video, I intentionally alternated between saying Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden to drive people crazy, and oh, it was glorious. I think the gameranx metaphor makes this very obvious, and really it slots into what we have been saying so much. When you make a game that is good and interesting, displays a care about the experience for the player, it's something that's challenging but fair, might say something about the world and the human condition, might just try to be mindless fun. When you do that, when you're not painting by numbers, when you're not combining the already prominent popular things, people want it. People buy it. This is why indie and AA are becoming such a major force in the gaming industry right now. It's because of these massive budgets that necessitate companies to be as risk averse as they possibly can be, where the companies are essentially acting like AI. They're just combining previously popular stuff without any underlying creative decisions. It's just like, oh, how can we get this into a thing? Because we know people like that. Ironically, that's the stuff that people never like. No matter how advanced Genie gets, that's what it is capable of doing. No AI will ever be able to live a human life. And thus, AI will not be able to apply human experience in making creative decisions. It won't be able to apply a life lived. And thus, it will not make something singular, interesting, unique. I'm not one to sit here and tell you that everything has to be original. I don't believe that everything is original. I believe that every person is actually kind of doing what AI is doing. They see stuff, they take it in, and they regurgitate it. The difference is when you make something good, it's filtering all of those things through your life experience, your sensibilities, your taste, your opinions. And this is the case for art, for code, for music, for writing. It's all by necessity by a human. What this is going to do is make good games much more valuable. And a good game isn't something you can get from pressing the content button. But it also isn't something you can get by throwing money at the wall, which is what these huge developers have been doing for a very long time. The sustainability of that model is now on the clock. Time is ticking for $100 million mediocre games. And it's because we're about to be drowning in everyone's mediocre crap. That sounds bad, but really think about what it does for a good game. A good game sticks out in that environment. A good game has stuck out more and more in the current environment, the one where these giant budgets are pushing companies to continually make blander and blander crap. There is a reason indie and AA is becoming the big thing in the gaming industry. It's because they make focused, good, specific, interesting, fun games with personality, and that is increasingly the model that's going to work. We've proven that live service is not a viable model for the entire industry. Yes, there are live service games that are making money. No, they are not even close to the majority of attempts at making money with live service games. There is tons of money invested there, and it's basically flushed down the toilet 999,999 times out of a million. So, is the gaming industry cooked because of Project Genie? Well, that really depends on what the gaming industry is to you. If you really like AAA fluff, then yeah, it's cooked. You can make the equivalent by typing some words. I'm not that interested in it, personally. I think Genie kind of sucks, actually. And I think most people kind of understand that, it's not good. These aren't games. Everybody who's saying the gaming industry is cooked is acting like this thing is making games. It's not. And if you do consider these things games, they really suck. But it is good enough to show somebody, good enough to talk about. We're talking about it right now. And as everybody is empowered to make stuff at this level or even a little bit higher level, let's say we get to the point where it is actually a game. It's not going to be an inspired game. It might be fun. It might be interesting, but these are fun and interesting for different reasons than Skyrim And that's the best case scenario. If you're expecting this thing to replace games, wow, are you in for a disappointment, because this thing kinda sucks. And like, the ultimate capability of it kinda sucks. But so does Starfield. We're about to be in a situation where we all have some kind of rudimentary understanding of putting effort towards making something. And most of it's gonna suck. And we're gonna understand that the effort that it took to make something that sucks has to be magnified significantly to make something that's good. Regardless of how. That's bad for crappy games, but it's not bad for good games. Good games are good. That's the point. I made my point, right? People should try to follow Capcom's model instead of whatever the hell Ubisoft says it's going to do with live services coming soon. I mean, that's really the long and short, right? What do you think? Leave us a comment. Let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. Join the 1% Club for all the unhinged Falcon Show goodness every week. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.